Meeting to order. This is the Strategic Planning Committee. It is Tuesday, August 13th at 7 o'clock. I'm Sherry Tice, the chairman of the committee. Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Tice.
Here.
Brooks.
Here.
Moats.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, council members, we should have received the copy of the minutes from our June 25th meeting. Did you see any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I think so. I did not see any. Motion. Make a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes by John Moats,
I'll second that.
seconded by Mr. Brooks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have several ordinances on the agenda this evening. Melissa, would you please read the title of the first ordinance?
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Circleville supporting the amendment to the master plan for Ted Lewis Park.
Thank you. We have the service director here, and we have Friends of Ted Lewis Park. Would one of you like to discuss this?
Good evening. Chairman Tice and fellow members of the Strategic Planning Committee, Mr. Moats and Mr. Brooks. My name is Larry Logan. I'm the chairman of the Friends of Ted Lewis Park. My committee is made up of a number of people, three of which are here tonight: Sue Haley, Terry Leisure, and Ty Ankrum. Others were not able to be here tonight. Wanted to give you just a real quick update before I speak to the evening's message. In the last 10 days, we've received $130,000 in donations for the park. And soon we will tell where all those came from, and I think you'll be very pleased and excited to hear how that is. That being said, we are moving ahead, it seems like finally, rapidly, to get the kinds of monies we need to complete the projects that we have in mind down at the park. So we're very, very blessed by that and very, very happy to report that to you. I'm here tonight to talk about the request for you all to pass an ordinance. I'm requesting that you pass the ordinance to add basketball courts to the 2015 master plan for Ted Lewis Park, and that you approve that and send it on to council for their approval. The court is paid for by Four Jack Industries.
Oh, excellent.
And I'd like to just finalize my comments by saying a special thanks to Jim Stanley, who's been working with our committee and has done absolutely incredible job, not only for the park, but for the city. So that's all I have, Chairman Tice.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I'd like to thank you and all the committee members for all the work that you've done. It's been wonderful. I understand you're working on the new shelter house rebuilding, and it's definitely needed. It's in terrible shape. So thank you for all your fundraising to create that and all the other improvements you've done this year. The lights around the ball fields, we appreciate that. Great. Perfect. I know the Pee Wee football teams will be much appreciative of that. Yes, it starts getting dark early when they're playing. So, well, I certainly agree with you that we need basketball courts around the city and courts that are accessible by bike, which is why I fought to create the Emrine Park on Corwin Street and put in the new courts there. It is a central location that serves many families. So, unfortunately, we did lose basketball courts and playgrounds when all the elementary schools were closed. And I would love to see the green space next to Atwater reclaimed as a neighborhood park for the city, and potentially put basketball courts in there. Let's talk about the master plan for a minute. I've got the diagram I'm going to put up here on the board, if it'll come up. In 2015, since we have two new members of council here on our committee, the master plan for the revitalization of Ted Lewis Park was developed by a professional planning firm with quite a lot of stakeholder and community input. Larry's brother, Mike Logan, spearheaded council's effort to survey the citizens and find out what their priorities were for this park. This plan was created after 856 people responded to a survey and shared their opinions and their experiences at the park. And that's a ton of people. Park safety was a big concern. 76% said there was too much behavior and language that is inappropriate for children. And there were many comments put on the survey. I've shared those with the council members as well, that people were concerned with their children. One lady said, we left several times because of dirty, inappropriate language and illegal activities taking place on the skate park and basketball courts. My children are 16 to 20, and we don't encourage them to go to the park because of the drugs and fighting which frequently take place there. It says, men and teens at basketball courts always making trouble and fighting. There's lots and lots of comments. Have been at the park many times when fights broke out on the basketball courts. Also seen numerous arrests made at the park. It's very intimidating. Language in the basketball is rated R. Another person said, older men use basketball courts and don't let school-age kids play. My son says he and his friends won't go because of them. Park has a problem with bad people who hang there. So unfortunately, that was the situation. And one of the reasons, that we did the survey at that point, the drug activity was a problem, and that's one of the first things that the service department did remedy, putting the road that goes around the ballparks, the ball fields back in, and they did the new bleachers in the back and got all the old concrete out. That was good. The banks of the creek had been severely overgrown, which made it impossible to see what might be happening down the creek. And last year, the service director made clearing the old pool fence and all that brush a priority. So now that the road is back and the brush has been cleared, it should be safer as far as the drug activity that was happening down there. We do also have security cameras that have been installed around the playground and splash pad where we've had vandalism. Even on the new stuff, people haven't been taking care of it as well as we would like. We had a letter to the editor in the Herald that addressed council members. And Mrs. Wright reminded us that we are representatives of the people on council. It is our duty to listen to what the citizens say, to answer their questions, and then do what the majority of the people want, not just a chosen few, to use her words. And she's absolutely right. In many cases, it's difficult to gauge people's opinions about things that come before council, but not about what should be at Ted Lewis Park. Over 800 citizens, took their time to share their thoughts, and we have the information right here. This master plan was created based on their answers. So people were asked which features would make you or your family more likely to use the park, and they were given 21 different options. They could check all that apply. 5 of the most desirable features in this order were walking and biking trails, special events or festivals in the park, improved park safety and monitoring, new children's play area, and a new splash pad. The master plan has done an excellent job of incorporating these items, and they have already been built. It's wonderful. Special events are taking place in the park, and more are planned. Of the 21 options presented, the bottom 6 included a skate park, tennis courts, better walkability to downtown, more seating, a band shell or gazebo, and basketball courts. Those were the 6 least desired features that people said. The plan for the last area of the park that to be developed included the trail along the creek here, you can see down here, and that's been done as we discussed. Additional parking, the parking area is to be expanded, which is desperately needed. When softball and football is going on, there's a ton of people in that park. And an amphitheater down here, which was in honor of Ted Lewis, and then landscaping in this area to accentuate the Veterans Memorial there. Over the last 6 years, which you two haven't been here to see, we have had several different groups of people come to council requesting that the master plan be changed to allow for what they wanted to be added to the park. In addition to the basketball courts, people have asked for a new skate park, asked for new tennis courts, they've asked for a completely handicap accessible playground, a new pool, more pickleball courts, and even a pump track for bicycles. And some people have said they don't think we need the amphitheater that is in the plan. So do you see, the problem here? What if John wanted a sand volleyball court, and Zach thought there should be a music venue, and Tom wanted a frisbee golf, and Tom Kliska wanted a dog park.
I did.
And everybody has an opinion. That's the problem. So if someone came and proposed building a Ferris wheel at Ted Lewis, and even said they had the money to pay for it. Does that mean we should automatically say yes? The money shouldn't really make it the decision. We need to do what is best for the most people. So my duty as an elected representative is to honor the wishes of so many citizens that were specifically expressed in this survey. They had good reasons for their responses. The safety issues and challenges in our community really have not changed. A majority of the people voted for Ted Lewis to be a park for children and families, and that's what we've created, a serene, green, safe space. So, I really feel strongly that the master plan should not be changed based on the campaigning of any small group, whether it's the Friends of Ted Lewis, the Pickleball Association, or anyone else. If we wish to change the master plan, we should go back to the citizens. I don't know what's best. When the Strategic Planning Committee had the same conversation with Larry last year, that's exactly what we proposed. I went to the park board afterwards and asked that they and the administration either hire a consultant to create a master plan for all the parks so we could decide, they could decide with the community what's best and where, or come back to the citizens and directly ask in a survey what features their family would be most likely to use at Ted Lewis and how they would like to see the park completed. And, that didn't get done. I'm not sure why, but this master plan was created in response to our citizens, and I feel like it would be a slap in the face to those 856 people to simply ignore them. If council votes to change this plan right now without going back to the people to find out what everybody wants, I can't imagine why any citizen would ever bother to come to a public meeting or fill out a survey in the future. It's downright disrespectful. So I do applaud all the work that the Friends of Ted Lewis have done at Ted Lewis Park, but I can't support installing a basketball court because that would be going against the will of the people that I was elected to represent.
So with that being said,
Mhm.
so you're telling me there's been no survey that has been redone?
Nope.
Because, 9 years is a pretty significant time frame. And the park has changed dramatically in those
Sure.
9 years with some of those improvements. So how do we get to the point where we're doing a survey to ask if, some of these things that they put the time into would be worth looking at to put in the park so that we're not, in your opinion, with the survey that was done, being disrespectful to them, but at the same time looking for opportunities to enhance the park as well.
Well, a survey could be done very easily by the administration if they wanted to do that. They did that with the water bill earlier this year. And honestly, we could have included this, but I didn't know that was happening. And so it wasn't part of it. We could do that. Or, they've batted around having a professional park planner come in and do a major plan for the space we have, different places. This could be incorporated into that as well.
So, Jim, I believe you, when we met earlier this week, Hannah had done some type of survey that she sent out to several people in the city. Is that correct? Where she had like 3,000 emails and she was able to send out and get some type of survey response. Is that something similar we could do to send out to just kind of maybe update what we're looking at?
Yeah, we could. That could be done. Use the same email list. It's about 3,000.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, if everybody comes back and says they want a basketball court, perfect. If everybody wants a dog park, perfect. I don't care what.
Sure.
I just want the people to
I understand where you're
decide
coming from. I
because
think
we put a lot into this
Yeah.
in 2015.
My question is, do we have demographics for the 850 people that were surveyed? Do we know?
We do, yeah. They across all age brackets. I can have Melissa scan in this copy of the original questions and all the answers, but they span all age ranges. I mean, we don't have like income and that sort of thing, but
Did we have youth involved in that survey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They held, when it was originally done, which was before my time on council also, I think Barry's the only one that's still here from 2015. They did extensive work. They had community meetings. They did, reached out to different stakeholder groups, and I'm sure they talked to,
Yeah, because the
Children.
like I spoke to you about when I got here, from the information that I received I only received a partial survey. So I didn't have all the survey to look at prior to this meeting. So I didn't see all the questions. I didn't see how they were ranked, why they were ranked that way. I looked on our website with all the documents. I couldn't find anything under Ted Lewis, under survey, or any of that to show me a master plan coming in here. So some of this stuff that I'm hearing now is the first time that I've heard it, even though I tried to look at it prior.
Sure. Well, we
Um,
had quite a lot of information that was sent out for this meeting because we got several ordinances and lots of supporting documentation, so I didn't want to overwhelm, but
Sure.
we don't have a strict timeline on this. So we can certainly, I can have Melissa scan this rest of this in and send it out to you at any time. And
Sure. I just think, I think the quicker we get something like that done, the better, because I
Sure.
think we have a great opportunity if it is something that citizens want, which, I grew up playing basketball at the park. So I remember being out there with all my buddies and doing that kind of stuff. And I know that survey was taken, and maybe that survey was taken at a time when the park wasn't in a position as where it is now. In my
Well-
opinion, I think there's been plenty of improvements that have helped with the type of people that are going down there and utilizing that as well.
well,
So,
but you got to remember too that it's not the same as it was when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s. I
oh,
mean,
no,
the
nothing.
demographics in the town have changed.
Absolutely.
The athletes like you are really in a lot of program stuff. So, if you're a basketball player, you're playing basketball year round, you're doing AAU travel ball, and that's the same way with all the sports. They're very organized. When we were kids, you played your fall sport, then your winter sport, then your spring sport, and then you went swimming in the pool in the summertime.
Yeah, we
But-
were down there after school during the summers, and
Sure.
I think that it's a nice central location for a lot of families to be able to get to. So if that's something that they want, we have the opportunity to put it in. I think it, in my opinion, would behoove us to make sure that we're taking the appropriate steps, but also not passing away an opportunity to do it if it's what's wanted.
Sure. I wanted
I
this to be
hear-
done last summer too.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the basketball courts are one of the number one things I hear about,
Mhm.
community wanting more of in the city, a pool and basketball courts and skate parks and stuff like
And a
that.
steakhouse.
Yeah, and a steakhouse, yeah, or two.
Yeah.
I guess for me, 850 people doesn't even make up a quarter of the community. So, I mean,
But those were the
not-
people that cared to do it.
I
These are
yeah, I
people
get
that cared
that.
about the park.
It's just one of those things. It's such a small percentage to say, that,
It seems like a small percentage of our overall population, but it's a huge response to
it
the
is.
survey.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
We try to have community meetings and, 3 or 4 people might show up.
Yeah.
It's tough to get people to be involved and care
Was
about
that
these
sent
things.
out to the whole county or just to citizens of Circleville?
It went out to the whole county. I think most of them were residents of Circleville, but if you live in Northwood Park, you're technically not a resident
Yeah.
of the city. So
Was it,
um,
how was it distributed?
I honestly can't even tell you that because this was before my time.
Okay.
Um,
Larry, do you have any insight as to how that
before his
original
time,
survey?
too.
Okay.
I have a number of things I'd like to say.
Do you have any insight as to how you came to want a basketball court? I mean, I know
Yes,
that,
I do.
have you surveyed any?
We did it completely unscientific survey. And quite frankly, I think the 866 recipients of the survey that was done back in 2015 is very unscientific. It doesn't even include most of the people in the city. Number one, it went out to water bill people. It didn't go out to children. It went out to the people who are paying water bills. So that's one thing, but it's kind of interesting. We did a very unscientific poll in the Scioto Post. Jeremy ran it for us, and I had written an article about how we thought that there was a real need for a basketball court down there. And Jeremy says, well, let's just run an unscientific poll then. Let's just ask people what they think. We got 400 respondents. 300 and some said they wanted a basketball court. 3 people said they wanted a steakhouse. And the rest of the people said they wanted a pool. Well, it's a floodplain. You can't have a pool, and they're not going to put a steakhouse down there. I guess I'm kind of concerned about the thought to go to a poll and go out and, we didn't do a poll for Emerine Park for a basketball court. That basketball court is surrounded by homes. Where we want to put the basketball court at Ted Lewis is back in the corner, clear back in the corner, where that road goes around. There'll be security cameras on it. There would be no lights at night, so there'll be no activity at night back there. Jim and his crew have cleaned out along that creek, so you don't have the drug activity back in that creek. There was a meth lab back there one time. You can see through there now. There's nothing going on back there. I spoke with Judge Harsha and Judge Peters last week. They both said that there's been almost no activity of any undesirable kind down there since they found out we had security cameras in the park. And quite frankly, this is 10 years from the 2015 plan. And you know what? Things change in 10 years. Yeah, there's still kids on drugs. There's still kids that drink beer. There's still going to be fights. There's going to be fights at Emerine. There's going to be fights at the high school. One thing I can assure you of is that unless we do something for kids 12 and over in the inner city, which Ted Lewis is an inner city park, and in this inner city, according to the demographics I have, under 18 population is 80% in poverty. Now they got a choice. They can do drugs, they can drink, they can fight, or they can go someplace and expend some energy. And I think it's time we got away from the old and decided to do something. Yeah, there may be problems. I've never been in a basketball game where we didn't get into a problem, where we didn't yell at each other or say something. That's part of being in basketball. But I really believe that that this thing has really gone on too long. And I think because we have adjusted to the new reality, which is the fact that, first of all, we don't have anything for that age group of kid to do here. And secondly, that we have security cameras. We'll have signage down there that says, if you're doing drugs here, if you're drinking here, if you are getting into fights here, you're on a camera. And there's going to be police out here. And Judge Harsha also told me that the police are patrolling that way more often than they have been in the past. So they're going through there continuously through the day. And I really think that if we're going to go into this thing with and by the way, a month ago, because of Hannah, who's now, she's safety committee, right? Head of safety? City planner. Hannah, who's the new city planner, she put encounters in the parks to tell us how many people were using it. Friday night, 920 cars went through Ted Lewis Park. 940 went through on Saturday. It's getting used. Now, some of those people might be on drugs because a lot of the population is. Some of those people might be drinking beer. A lot of the population is. I just want to give them something to get rid of some of that anxiety, that energy. I want them to do something with their lives other than having to say, we can't do it because 86 people who got water bills decided it was a bad idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate that. And I know you're impatient to see this happen. We want those people to have something to do too, which is why we put the basketball court at Emerine, because it's not around the small children. The survey said that they wanted the park to be for small children and families. And it's peaceful now because of that. And as you said, basketball gets rowdy. Language is rotten. And we have the same demographic has not changed. And I think that the same people may come back. It may be just like before. It's not like they're not going to come because the park's nicer now. You know, everybody likes to come to the nice park. That's why I just want to go back to the citizens. If the citizens want it, that's fine, but it needs to be a little bit more scientific, you know, and reach out to everybody.
And again, I have to ask you, why wasn't that done for Emerine Park? Because it's a complete area of homes.
Because that was not done by ordinance, that we didn't have a survey with what the citizens wanted.
Why does an ordinance have to be involved?
This master plan was created by ordinance, as you know, because we put tons of money and tons of time into developing this plan. The city did. That, the park board, you know, we put that basketball court in Emerine because it was felt that we needed one in the inner city. So we put it down there for those people because unfortunately, the basketball courts out at Barthelmess Park are hard to get to by walking or on a bike. They're way out in the southeast corner. We also have basketball court on the southwest corner at Smith Park. We have a basketball half court in Triangle Park on Garden Parkway. There are 4 hoops at the schools for the kids to play on. What we really need is one up north. There's nothing up in the northern, northern half of the city. So that's why I think Atwater would be great. And if the people say they want basketball, that's fine. But I just don't think that you can say it, or I can say it, or he can say it, or the other person can say it, and we can say, oh, that's it. So, Michelle, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I do. I have several things actually. Michelle Blanton, 430 East Franklin Street, also mayor of the city of Circleville. I too am an elected official, and I am responsible to respond to the citizens of the city as well. Basketball courts is one of the things that I hear frequently. I also say it. Having a 17-year-old son who plays basketball would go to Ted Lewis frequently and play basketball, who now doesn't necessarily have a place. He does.
Does he go to Emerine?
He does.
I mean, because
No,
Emerine's-
he doesn't go to Emerine because when he's going to play with his friends, they're at the other parks with the rest of their family because it's a family park. So there's multiple things going on at the same time where different age groups are doing different things at the same time. That doesn't happen at Emerine, and it can't happen at Emerine because it's only a basketball court.
Sure.
So I'm going to repeat some of the things that have been said already. This was done 9 years ago. We have had a global pandemic since that. We have had a lot of other things that have done and changed in the city. I believe the demographics of this city have also changed since 2019. We are a different group of people. 800 and so respondents in a city of 14,000 is 0.06% of the city's population. Even if you said that it was that those 800 people were of, let's say, every single one of the 3,000 people, you would have 21.4% representation of the city population. And that's if every single person who filled out the survey lived in the city. And we know that not all water bills paid to the city of Circleville are by people who live here. They're by landlords who live somewhere else. So you're not getting a true representation that way of people who live in the city because some of those people don't receive their water bills for whatever reason, a myriad of reasons. And even then, 1 in 4 people would get a water bill by doing it that way. Now, of course, that's part of communications and something that we're trying to work on for the city. All that being said, it is not a statistically significant amount of people to say one way or the other. It's not statistically significant. I think we can all agree, and we're some, moderately educated
Sure.
people when it comes
Michelle, I
to
would think
quantitative analysis.
that would represent 856 families, because one person would fill it out for their family. So it's really not just individual
Sure.
people. So it's probably, if you want to go 2.4, it's probably closer to 2,000.
Okay, but still,
You know what I'm saying?
again-
It's not insignificant. It's a lot of families represented in this survey. You can't deny that.
okay. And with all due respect, you were able to say what you wanted to say.
Sure, go ahead.
Please allow me to say what I want to say.
Certainly.
There are cameras at the park. The police officers are patrolling more. You can go in the park and be in the park multiple times during the day and see a police officer drive through there. I've seen it myself as I've been at the park at an event where the police weren't even there, but they're doing their due diligence and doing their work. We've also done it on a ride-along that I've spent time with the police doing. This basketball court is going to be in a different location than the previous one. It is away from the playground equipment, and so that is different from the survey. So that part of it has been addressed and that this is in a different part of the park.
Well, it always,
The-
I'm sorry.
The money is allowed, or the money is offered to the city to build this. And when this park was done, how long did it take for us to start the changes at Ted Lewis Park from the point that this plan was done? I was 4 years into my term before we took out the loan to start the first phase of this plan, which was, what is that? 4 years ago, so 6 years. 6 years after the plan was put in place. Plans take money. I don't, disqualify that. They do take money, and they also take time, and I understand that too. But a city and a community can change, and people's priorities can change, and their tastes can change. And so to be dogmatic with something that our citizens are using is also a slap to their face. The term bad people or bad kids has continuously been used when we've talked about basketball courts. There are bad kids that play football, and we still allow football at this park. There are bad kids that play baseball, and we still allow them to play baseball on our fields as the city of Circleville. I'm sure that there are people who play pickleball who curse while they're playing pickleball out at Ted Lewis or at Barthelmess Park. We don't kick them out of our park either. So while we do something for one citizen, we need to be sure that we're not doing it against another citizen. We've already talked about more security. We talked about the survey results. You talked about the basketball courts being next to playground equipment. There are basketball courts right next to playground equipment at Circleville Elementary School. We're not taking those basketball courts out. I'm sure there are people that are playing over there. And yes, that's another basketball court that we have in the city. Does my son want to go back to the school after having been there all day to play basketball? Probably not. But he might go to the park. Every survey can be, the results from surveys and data can be used either way, one way or another. You're always going to be in favor of something, show the results that are going to be in favor of something, or you can use the same results to be against something. It happens. But what we need to make sure that we do, and I totally agree with this, is making sure that we try our best to do what our citizens are asking of us. Can we do everything for them? No. But why would any one person want to come up here if every time a different group of people comes up here, they walk out with a no? And I never saw somebody come up and ask for a basketball court at Emerine, specifically. They asked for basketball courts, but they didn't ask for Emerine Park specifically. Now, I'm thankful for the family, for their donations. I'm thankful for the work that our service department has done for Emerine Park. But it has occurred to me that we have said no more times than we have said yes. And I think this is a great opportunity, and you have a great group of citizens who are asking you and have provided every resource possible to make this happen in our city park. And I urge the committee to consider passing this on to council. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. The reason that the plan was not started in 2015 or 2016 right after was honestly because the city did not have the money. We did not pass the safety levy until 2019, and so it was 2020 when the city started getting money in that the council said, hey, interest rates were really low. This is the time to borrow the money to do the park. So that's why it wasn't started earlier. We had, I'll never forget, Mayor McElroy said, does anybody have $1? Like we have so strapped for money. If you wanted to do something that was $25,000, which is relatively small in city terms, the auditor would say, well, who are we going to fire to have that money available? Because we were stretched so thin in those days. And thankfully, with the safety levy helping support the safety forces, that's opened up a lot of extra money to do streets and parks and other things for the city. Yes, we have football players and we have softball players at Ted Lewis Park, and they're in supervised leagues, so they're not just out there playing by themselves, and it's generally young children. The tapers off the older they get. And certainly, yes, at the elementary school, we have an elementary court next to the playground there, but it's geared towards elementary school kids, and I believe those baskets are low. So you wouldn't have 20, 22-year-old, 25-year-old men playing next door to the playground. And honestly, the playground was never next to the basketball court in the old configuration of the park either, because the basketball courts were over where the restrooms are now, and the playground was where it is now, over by the creek. So it was still an issue. If the demographics have changed in the city, I think we've actually had an increase of people living in the poverty level by a percentage or two. We do still have a drug problem. Everyone knows that. There still are rough, rowdy people, not bad people. We have bad behavior, certainly, but not bad people. I've never said bad people. So anyway, any other thoughts from the community members?
Well, this is one of those things, we've seen so little traction on improvements to the community, especially when it comes to youth activities in the last several years. I think Ted Lewis has been pretty stagnant for the last decade, and thankfully we have the new park, but that's one of the only things that we've really seen for the youth to do. And, with the safety levy up for election again this year, we are going to be strapped if that doesn't pass. So I think while we have a group coming to us trying to literally throw money in our pockets, we probably should jump on that opportunity. So I would like to make a motion that we pass this on to full council at our September 3rd meeting to give us enough time to try and get some more community involvement. I will even stand out at Ted Lewis Park Friday and Saturday night and ask the individuals that come through there what their thoughts on a basketball court at Ted Lewis would be. I'd like to make a motion to pass this on to full council at our September 3rd meeting.
We don't have full council at the point.
We do, but I would like to just give us another couple weeks to try and get some community involvement. That way we're not trying to rush it through next week.
I just don't think that's enough time to be able to do anything. And there isn't a strict timeline on this. This park has been under construction. I mean, I don't think waiting a couple months would be a problem to really do a full survey, go out to the 3,000 people. I don't think that's asking too much.
One other thing I might say is that this donation to pay for basketball court has to be put into the ground between 11/15 and 12/15 of this year, if it's going to be done this year.
But does the donation go away then if it doesn't happen this fall?
I don't know that.
So we really do have some time. We don't have to rush into this.
Well, if you don't do it between 11/15 and 12/15, then you're not going to do it again probably until the following year at the same time. That's when the donor can actually, and he's donating his time and money to put it in himself.
They're donating
They're
the
doing
services and the
construction.
resources.
Services, okay.
They're doing the construction.
Okay.
That's how that donation is coming forward. And unless,
Can you go to the mic,
Yeah, we need
please?
you at the microphone so we can hear you. Sorry.
the person who's donating this for Jack Industrial is indicating that the donation is coming in terms of a donation of time and material, and that will be needed to be put in between 11:15 and 12:15. I've discussed this with Mr. Stanley. Jim says that is very possible. We'd have to grade out a little bit of the land way back in the back of the park, away from all the houses. Quite frankly, some of this whole thing has become a negative because of the people who live along Court Street who used to have this behind them, and they still think the same thing's going to happen. Anyway, if we get it in this year, that's when it has to go in. What happens after that? I don't know if Fort Jack will want to do it after that. I just don't know. That's it.
Well, I think the people who own Fort Jack and run Fort Jack are big supporters of the city and city council. So,
All of
yes, of course, we all are. Any other comments from other council members? Mr. Klitzky?
Yes,
Mr. Duval?
I appreciate that. First of all, I've been spending time over at Ted Lewis Park with my granddaughter at the splash pad and the playground, and a two-year-old grandson over there. It's amazing, the transformation. We moved here 25 plus years ago. Ted Lewis Park wasn't like it is today. So each of you, of course, are outstanding members of Circleville itself, and we certainly appreciate all you've done for that park. It is just to walk through the park, drive through the park, use some of the facilities and so on. Certainly the shelter is one that obviously we talked about, that it's much needed replacement itself. I have to agree. We've seen in the past a lot of basketball played there, much as the football and softball and baseball is played there. The splash pad is getting lots and lots, and I've been out today even talking with some of the parents, gaining their insight on not only the park but other issues that we have here in the city. And they're all positive about Ted Lewis Park and the way it looks today. So credit to each and every one of you and all of your board members to make this happen. Obviously, Mr. Stanley has played a role. So, I say thank you, from not only myself, from, fellow council members and many of our citizens who have, said all the good things about what you've accomplished. And I know there's more to come. So certainly from the standpoint, I would like to see a basketball court added, because I think it enhances what you've done and what we've had and so on. And so definitely, we're with you. And we'd like to see that happen. And obviously, if you weren't, wanting to continue to make things happen, you wouldn't be here today in force. And so that speaks volumes of each and every one of you, and having Jim here, and certainly what Mayor Blanton has said, all positive. And we thank you for making things happen. You're welcome.
Mr.
Thank you.
Duval?
Two reactions. I think your logic, or the point of your presentation, your approach, your view is solid. The other thing is, and this is a personal vote of confidence to Larry Logan. You have given a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for this community. You've got a support group that's going to put in a basketball court as well as everything else you put in there, you being the Friends of Ted Lewis. I don't know how we can do a study that's meaningful between now and, you say, the 11/15 and 12/15. And I agree with the mayor that we can't keep saying no. On the other hand, we also need to be responsible for the people that spent $2.5 million. Actually, it was the city that did that, and put in the plan that we put in. So I don't have the answer, quite frankly. I don't know the answer, but I guess if I were going to err, I'd err on the side of Mr. Logan, who's worked an awful lot for the city and done an awful lot of work with the committee for Ted Lewis Park. And I guess if we put it in, okay, and it becomes exactly what we're afraid it is, we can take it out. It isn't anything that's going to be in there forever. Are you putting in one or two courts? One or two?
The thought was to put one in first. See if things went well.
That is my point. If it goes well.
Things were honestly in a positive manner. And I gotta be honest with you, it's not all going to be positive. It's not the way life is. It doesn't happen now. But I can tell you that if it is positive, Jack said they'd do another.
Well, we're gonna know if it's positive or not. We're gonna get feedback. If we have swearing and da-da-da-da-da-da, we're gonna know about it.
Yeah.
And if we have kids that want to use it and are using it,
My thing, Tom, would be, I would be very, very concerned if it became a drug area, if it became an alcohol area, then I would be the first one to stand in front of you all and say, we got a problem, you were right, we were wrong, take it out. But if you don't do something, you haven't taken the chance to find out how good it can be. And that's the real deep problem.
I guess I would conclude by saying it's not an easy answer from my perspective, okay? Like I say, the city's spent a lot of money to do what we planned, and it's beautiful.
It is.
That's point A. Point B is, can that coexist with the basketball court?
Right.
And the only way to find that out is to do it.
And I appreciate what Chairman Tice is saying about being a family park.
Can you put the
13
mic, please? Sorry. You're not carrying very well.
I appreciate what Chairman Tice said about being a family park. And I do think that kids from 13 to 18 are part of families. Thanks.
Okay, so is the motion still on the,
Yeah, my motion still
Still on the
stands.
floor.
okay. So Sherry, I appreciate all the work and all the feedback and master plan. I tried to do as much research as I could. Like I said, with, even from previous, meetings from 2015. And I do appreciate that. I want to do the right thing for the city as well. But I'm going to second his motion to push it through to the council for the September 3rd meeting.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Brooks and a second by Mr. Moats. Please call the roll.
Tice,
I can't support it without a survey to citizens, so no.
Brooks,
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming from Friends of the Park. Our next ordinance on the agenda, Melissa, please read.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into an Inflation Reduction Act, Ohio, the Green Circleville Initiative Grant Agreement with the USDA Forest Service, Eastern Region, State, Private, and Tribal Forestry to provide grant funds to create tree equality and improve local environment for the city of Circleville and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This ordinance comes to us from the Service Department. Mr. Stanley, could you please speak to this?
Yeah, this is a grant that we actually received last year, about a year ago, which the Tree Commission and Sherry Tice worked on extremely hard. The Service Department applied for the grant with their help, and we were awarded $1 million. And this is an ordinance allowing us to move forward with the grant to get the agreement signed to allow us to start implementing the funds. It is a reimbursement grant. So we will have to allocate some funds to allow us to start utilizing the funds. So, but this lets me move forward with the grant and start implement tree planting and hopefully getting an arborist hired that will help us with the trees in the city that are the city-owned trees along the right-of-ways and in the parks. So.
All right, thank you so much. And yes, we are really excited to have this grant we found out that we received last September, but we're still waiting on all the paperwork. You've never seen so much paperwork in your life as with this federal government grant. I can't believe it. But anyway, this is one more step in that work, and hopefully we will be able to get some money coming in soon. So do you have any questions about that?
No, I looked over all the documents. Thank you.
Any other council members have questions?
Yeah, great idea. Thank you.
Excited to see it
Yeah.
actually get pushed through and
Yes,
see some nice new greenery around town.
100%. I will make a motion that we forward this to council on September, or August 20th with a recommendation for passage.
A second.
Melissa, please call the roll.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Melissa, if you can read the third ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to execute and file an application with the Ohio Public Works Commission for possible financial assistance through the Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This also came to us from the Service Department. Mr. Stanley?
Yeah, this is an ordinance allowing us to ask for grant money to purchase parkland property. We do have a couple of properties in mind that we would like to enter into purchase agreements with based on receiving the grant money. If we don't receive the grant money, we won't move forward with the purchase, but this is a 75% grant. So the city would be responsible for 25% of the purchase price agreed upon. But this allows us to move forward with that grant. So, and entering into those purchase agreements.
How long does that process take?
The grant, we should know by January as to whether we've got the grant or not. And then the dispersal of the grant, I believe, would happen sometime towards March of next year. So,
Okay.
but we'll know well before then.
Okay.
Okay, so this is to purchase the two pieces of property that you had discussed with council previously. Could you
That's correct.
tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, the two pieces we're looking at are north on Court Street, north of the new D.R. Horton subdivision. And the primary piece we're looking at is on Pickaway Street, just north of Hargis Creek, near the Pickaway Street Bridge. So both of them are nearly the same in acreage. One's 23 and one's 24 acres. So it's about 50 acres of parkland, 47. So
Yeah, that green space would be wonderful. Let me ask you this, Jim, if we are not given the entire grant, because I know sometimes you ask for a lot and they give you half or they give you a quarter or whatever, is there a way to put one as a priority over the other?
we are prioritizing the Pickaway Street grant land because it's more centralized and it's a piece that they would more likely grant first based on their requirements. So
Okay.
we're asking for both, but we're prioritizing that one as our grant ask.
Some twister.
How much is the grant total?
We are waiting to get a value of the land back. We had to hire an ODOT approved appraiser to do a land valuation to get an appraisal, basically.
Okay.
We haven't got those back yet. Once we get that back, then we will enter into purchase agreements with the property owner. So
About how much, do you know about how much we're hoping to get?
we are in the range of about $500,000 on each property. So a total of around $1 million with $750,000 in grant.
Did you have a question, John, about the date?
Yeah, so on the letter of intent that was sent, in section 3, it says the purchase transaction shall close no later than March 31st of 24. Is that just a typo?
That's a typo.
Okay, so, and that is also followed in paragraph 5.
Yeah, we'll have to review those again.
Okay,
I'll run those through the
That's
law
fine. I
director's
just-
office. Yep.
caught the date, so just wanted to bring that up.
Yep, excellent.
We missed our window.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 months
We're
behind.
behind.
Yeah, it should read 25.
Okay,
So we'll have all those dates changed.
And then you also, prior to the meeting, said you were going to double check on the Ohio Public Works Commission.
Just to make sure that's
that
the
is
right entity.
The correct
Right.
entity, okay.
Yeah, it could be Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Ohio Public Works. And that could totally be the correct entity, but I just want to make sure that we're asking the right people, make sure the ordinance reads correctly so that we don't do anything we don't want to do.
Yeah, that is important. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Questions from other council people?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Duval?
Just speaking about the Pickaway Street property, will we just have trails through there? I mean, I don't think we're gonna be able to put a road through there, are we, with?
We could, but that's not the intent at this point. The intent is just to have trails,
A
have
green space, if you will.
mostly green space. There are some options for some, it's not intended when they give you the grant money for this particular grant that it's used as a high traffic park, something that's got ball diamonds, and they want it preserved more as green space and trails, bike trails, dog parks, that kind of.
I was just thinking, isn't that a wetland? Isn't that an?
There,
The
it is
floodplain?
not a wetland, but it is a floodplain area. About half of it is floodplain.
Which would be pretty tough to put a road through, is my point.
Yeah,
So that's not a problem. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to pass this on to council on the 20th.
a second.
Okay, we have a motion to pass this to council on August 20th with a recommendation for passage. Please call the roll.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And our fourth ordinance this evening comes from the city auditor's office. Would you please read the title of that?
An ordinance amending the annual appropriation ordinance in the general fund 101 and safety forces 0.5% income tax fund 227 of the city of Circleville.
Thank you. Now, this would normally go to Finance Committee, but there is some time pressure on it, I understand, to get these housekeeping items taken care of. So they asked that we take a look at it this evening. We have $3,000 that is for personnel training. The auditors, he and two other employees, 3 total, are going to be going to a training on their software, which is some seriously complicated software. So they have training every year on that. That's the first part of it. The second is $21,000 that needs to be allocated for contract for the police department consultant that you're familiar with. We need to get that funding in place for that. Any questions or thoughts about that? Any other council?
I'm
members?
good. Thank you.
Mr. Duval? Any questions? Nope. Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion for passage the 20th to the council.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Moats, seconded by Mr. Brooks to forward this to the August 20th council meeting with a recommendation for passage.
Tice,
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
Okay. Very good, thank you. That brings us to the new business portion. Well, brings us to some more new business. I guess we've been in new business. I am happy to report that we do have an applicant for the Downtown Redevelopment District Board. Mr. Gary Dean has given his application and is here with us tonight. Would you come to the podium, please, sir? When we have an applicant for a vacancy on one of our boards and commissions, we always invite them to come into committee and meet the people on council. Now, you are a well-known man around town, so there's not, introductions don't need to be made, but we wanted to come and say hello and thank you for your willingness to serve on this board.
One of the things I want you to know, been around town for a long time. I know many of you, and this current administration just seems to be rolling right along. I just would like to be a part of that and help however I could for the city to keep moving forward.
Great, thank you. Well, the DRD board, as we've discussed, only meets once or twice a year, and so it's a very low commitment. For that reason, the term is indefinite, so it's not like you have a 3-year set term. You can serve as long as you wish, and we appreciate it. The DRDs do actually have timeframes on them, so the Everett's DRD, I believe, was set up for 10 years, and it's in its final, maybe 3 years left on that. So yeah, do you have any questions for Mr. Dean?
No, I've known Gary for a long time. Thank you for being willing to do this.
You're welcome.
100% agree. All right, well, I would like to make a motion that we forward Mr. Dean's application to council on August 20th and recommend that he be approved.
I'll second that.
And Mr. Brooks seconds that.
Tice,
Yes,
Brooks,
Yes.
Moats.
Yes.
very good. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Dean. And we also have unfortunately, we have a resignation from our tree commission member, so we have a vacancy on that board now. And we will be accepting applications through the city website. You can go to the bottom of the homepage there and apply if anyone is interested in serving on the tree commission. So if you have any friends who like to plant trees and work on the beautification of the Circleville, we would love to have them. Is there any other new business this evening?
I do not have any. I'd make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.